activity the first half of the day. The world's not coming to an end.
So it's over? We're good?
We are done.
Okay.
We are done with the rain, and we're going to trend towards sunshine this afternoon, and we are going to have some actual fall-like weather around here.
Okay.
You ready for that?
Yes, sir. Tucker Barnes.
A little less humidity, cool temps this afternoon, and again, I think we'll trend towards clouds. The noon hour will become partly to mostly sunny conditions late this afternoon.
All right, so I'm staying corrected.
Yeah, I mean, I had to clear it out in time for you to hit the red carpet down at the Caps game later this afternoon.
I'm so excited tonight. Yeah.
Yep, Caps opening season. Okay, you can see for yourself the breaks in the clouds. We did get rain overnight. That's what Guy was referring to, of course. Not a lot of rain, 1/10 of an inch in many spots, a little more than that in a few spots. It wasn't a real soaker, but the cold front means business. It is a real cold front, which will bring us some of the coolest air we've seen in a couple weeks. So get ready for cool overnights, maybe I'll even call them chilly overnights, and then cool afternoons for the next couple days. 72 degrees at the noon hour, and we are looking at, you're pretty much looking at your daytime high, if I can be honest with you. I think you'll see these numbers start to fall back later this afternoon. The reason why, look at that wind starting to pick up, and wind's now gusting to 20. We'll see gusts occasionally 25 this afternoon, Guy. That's ushering in two things, cooler air and drier air.
Oh, good to know.
There's a little place up in Canada where all the cool air and the dry air settles, and it just gets exported down here.
Thanks, Canada.
Free of charge.
Yeah.
Free of charge. We don't pay tariffs on it, nothing. It's free. Okay, there you go. There's your rain shower activity scooting offshore. And we are left with the very back edge of our front. So you got to give it a couple more hours. I can't promise full sunshine here until perhaps late today, but the trend will be to get more and more in the way of breaks in the clouds. And again, you should be dry going forward. I don't think we'll get any more rain. The exception if you're down, along the beaches, Ocean City, you might have a few more showers before it gets out of here. Tonight will be clear. Moon should be back and beautiful. And then tomorrow, a good-looking Thursday. Honestly, for the most part, good-looking Friday, as we are featuring, look at those cooler numbers for your daytime highs. Only in the 60s, overnight lows around 50, upper 40s by Friday morning. We have a freeze watch, not here in D.C., but in our mountain communities for Friday morning.
Okay.
So that's the first time we've seen that this season. And your weekend starts dry. It may finish wet, Sunday afternoon and Monday especially. Coastal storm. Question marks about that, but just heads up early. The possibilities there that we get some rain by the second half of the weekend.
All right, news alert. First time I heard Tucker Barnes make mention of freeze. It's today, October the 8th.
Yeah, October the 8th. Good call.
Good stuff. Tucker Barnes, all things weather right here on the Live Zone. Guys, if you haven't already done so yet, look at that. Yeah, it's the Fox Local app. Download it right now and take that amazing forecast with you on the go. All right, we start with the big story of the hour. Former FBI Director James Comey pleaded not guilty to charges that he lied to Congress and obstructed a congressional proceeding during testimony he gave more than 5 years ago. Comey's initial hearing in a federal court in Alexandria, Virginia, was before a Biden-appointed U.S. district judge. Trump pushed for Comey to be prosecuted, and the cases raised concerns about the president using the justice system against his adversaries. The initial hearing in the criminal case marks the jumping-off point for what will likely be a heated battle between the career public servant, who will now find himself at a court defense table. That trial now scheduled to begin January 5th. Also in the news today, we are talking all things with regard to the government shutdown. Obviously, we are now in day 8, and a lot of folks are concerned. This after President Trump made mention that furloughed government workers may very well not get paid. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Armin Kurdian, U.S. Navy captain, retired, and political strategist, back here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, my friend, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Guy. Great to be here.
All right, we're going to talk about the government shutdown in just a minute, but first, the big story of the hour. I'm curious, your thoughts on what we saw unfold in that Alexandria courtroom as Comey pleaded not guilty. Is this a witch hunt? It is Comey playing the role of the witch.
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily a witch hunt. We've seen that there was a lot of shenanigans going back and forth within government and outside of government to try to frame Donald Trump as a Russian agent and a lot of different things. I'm not surprised that he pleaded not guilty. Perjury charges are very hard to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt or beyond a reasonable doubt in these courtrooms. My guess is what's going to happen is this case will, in fact, go to trial. It's not going to get thrown out. Ultimately, he'll probably be found not guilty, but I think we're going to see a lot of very bad intent on his part and probably some other names that are going to come out that were pushing this to try to make this happen and paint Donald Trump in a bad light.
Yeah, Armin, I should make mention that Comey did select to have a jury trial. We know that the trial should only last some 2 days, and prior to the trial actually starting, he has alluded, or rather his defense attorneys, that they will bring every possible motion in order to get this case thrown out before it even gets to trial. This is something we will all be keeping a close eye on over the next several months. Let's move on to President Trump, who is yet again suggesting that some furloughed government workers could receive back pay while others would not. Trump's comments follow a memo which raised the possibility that federal workers may not be entitled to back pay from their time off during the government shutdown. Armin, it's the multi-million-dollar question. How could this be? The law clearly states that they are entitled to back pay.
Yeah, the law, the 2019 law says that they shall be given back pay, subject to Congress passing the appropriation. So it does open up a little bit of gray area, because if Congress doesn't provide that appropriation, can they actually get paid? Some might argue the intent of the law actually states that, okay, well, the lapse is actually the lapse in total government payments. But others will say, well, the lapse could simply mean the lapse in the particular pay for these furloughed employees. Now, having said all that, it's not necessarily a good look to say that these government employees are going to maybe not get back pay during the shutdown. It's really not their fault. And if are going to be remakes to government, we've seen that Donald Trump has done it during government operations. So I expect that everyone in government is going to get their pay. I don't think the Republicans are going to try to go down that road as well. They're going to pass to open up the government. They pass a CR to keep things moving. So they want to keep them paid at the same time. So they keep voting on the same CR. The Democrats just need to vote yes, and these government employees will get paid.
We should note that the Senate will vote today on 2 measures aimed at bringing that partial government shutdown to an end. Yet again, we will continue to follow that throughout the afternoon right here on the Live Zone. Hey, you've heard the phrase, want to get away? Yeah, that's Southwest Airlines commercial. In this case, a lot of folks want to get away, but doing so, well, it's easier said than done. Flight delays are expected across the country for a 3rd straight day as the FAA braced for more airport staffing shortages amid the ongoing government shutdown. Within the last 48 hours, Armin, delays due to air traffic controller staffing shortages were reported at airports in Boston, California, Chicago, Denver, Houston, Las Vegas, and Phoenix, which, well, I'll be there on Friday. So do you foresee this becoming a thing of the norm, Armin?
Folks have got to understand that what we're seeing in terms of air traffic controller shortages is only indirectly related to the shutdown. They're not showing up simply because they're not getting paid or they're being told to be furloughed. A lot of them are taking sick leave, they're taking other types of administrative leave, and not showing up to work for whatever reason. Remember, air traffic controllers are already significantly overworked. They've been being paid a lot of overtime to keep them going. We have a serious shortage of air traffic controllers. The retirement age is like 56 or 58. It's ridiculously low, and that is a measure of the contract, not necessarily their competence to do the job. So there's a lot that needs to be done in order to maintain full staffing in these, in air traffic control. We need to raise that retirement age. We need to continue to train more individuals. If you want to be an air traffic controller, you've got a job actually waiting for you. But these folks are not staying home simply because they're being fired or told not to come to work.
Yeah, we've all heard of flying the friendly skies. In this case, I think we're really leaning toward flying the safe skies, and that's what it really all boils down to. Let's move on to the Texas National Guard in Illinois. The troops arrived yesterday. It isn't clear when they will hit the streets of Chicago. The state of Illinois and Chicago filed a lawsuit asking a judge to block the Trump administration's deployment of military troops to Chicago. The question is, what do you foresee happening here, Armin?
These National Guard troops are going to show up and they're going to help keep the streets safe. I've never seen anybody work so hard to try to stop law enforcement or other protective measures from getting on the streets, from stopping people from getting shot. Look at the number of people who were shot over the weekend in Chicago. It's still happening. Where's the equity and the inclusion for the folks who are living in these low-income neighborhoods where a lot of this crime is happening? The National Guard troops are there. They're going to take some of the load off of the local law enforcement to protect government buildings and other areas, and ICE and federal law enforcement agents that are being unfairly targeted and punished by a lot of folks there in Illinois. And Governor Pritzker needs and the mayor need to get with the program and start supporting these guys to help protect their law enforcement. Their number one job is public safety, and they're taking active measures in order to stop that from actually happening. We're seeing this in other parts of the country where there's pushback, but in other parts, you see red state governors or red state mayors that are welcoming this. And we saw what happened in Washington, D.C. Crime went down. Muriel Bowser worked with the federal government to help bring crime down and these National Guard troops. And if these guys in Illinois would just stop hating Trump so much, then maybe they might actually save some of their own lives of some of their own citizens.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what unfolds yet again in the state of Illinois. Let's take it to international affairs. We know that negotiations to finalize a deal based on President Trump's Gaza ceasefire plan are yet again underway in Egypt. Hamas and Israeli negotiators have spent hours trying to identify the main obstacles. Yet again, we all want peace in that region. Will it happen?
We're very, very close to it. You see Egypt is involved. Qatar is involved. The head of Turkish intelligence is involved. The Abraham Accords countries, I think, are going to be involved. So everybody's getting involved here into this process. And the more players that you have that are not named the United States and Israel in this effort, the better of a chance that you have of actually getting something to happen. Hamas knows that they're getting a little bit more isolated. Their only card that they have to play is that they know that Netanyahu's under immense political pressure at home to bring the hostages home and bring the war to an end. Do they use some of that political pressure or some of that as a tool, a negotiating tool to walk back some of these 20 points? They may try. I don't think that's going to be successful. The offer that's been made, especially for amnesty for Hamas terrorists who put down their arms and agree not to fight anymore and just walk away, as well as a lot of the foreign direct investment that will come into the Gaza Strip, that could be a very lucrative piece of land for the Palestinian people. There is an incredibly bright future for the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. Hamas is the only thing in the way right now. And the Arab League and everyone else in the Middle East recognizes that.
Yeah, Armin, it's no secret that President Trump hopes to bring peace to that region. He also hopes to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Donald Trump makes no secret of his aim to do just that. His supporters say he deserves the prize already, while his detractors mock the pursuit entirely. You think it's going to happen? Should this peace be reached in that region?
Well, it's interesting. I've always felt that the Nobel Peace Prize is something that should be given to somebody that nobody's ever heard of. Someone who stood up against, the true Davids against Goliath, who did something really incredible and noble, considering their stature in the world. There's no question that Donald Trump, having brought several conflicts to an end around the world, making a good faith effort in Russia and Ukraine, possibly bringing this conflict to an end as well, one that should never have started in the first place, in terms of who's actually the kind of people who've gotten the Nobel Peace Prize in the past, would be a very top candidate for this. I just like seeing the little guys get this kind of thing because I think it highlights more. Frankly, it's a job of the President of the United States and the rest of the world leaders to bring peace to the rest of the world. So that's just kind of my thoughts on it. But absolutely, he has done more to end conflict, end wars, and end fighting around the world than most of our previous several presidents combined.
Armin, you made mention of the little guys. In this case, we're going to talk about all the guys and all the gals that will likely end up on the front lawn of the White House. It's a first of its kind event planned at the White House. President Trump announcing that a UFC fight will be hosted at the White House on June 14th. The date coincides, by the way, with his 80th birthday. Trump says the fight will take place on the White House grounds, although the UFC has not officially confirmed the date. Are you liking this? Is this something right up your alley, sir?
This is absolutely fascinating. This is Donald Trump, the marketer out there. Dana White is a huge fan of the president, a big supporter. The UFC crowd, the folks who watch that, are obviously very big supporters of the president as well. I kind of like it. I think this is kind of neat. You could say, are we glorifying violence? I wouldn't necessarily say so because, after these guys fight, they have tremendous respect for each other. They're all, behind the scenes, outside of the octagon. They're all working together there. UFC does a lot of also charitable work around the country. So I think this is going to be great. I'm sure a lot of the president's detractors are going to yell and scream about it, but I think the majority of Americans are going to think this is pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I happen to be one of them. Used to be a boxing fan. Now for me, it's all things UFC. I cannot wait to feast my eyes on that right here in the nation's capital. Mr. Armin Kurdigan, U.S. Navy captain, retired and political strategist. Always good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone.
Thank you, Guy. Have a great day.
All right. We are following several developing stories. Let's do this. Let's go to California, where authorities there right now discussing an arrest made surrounding the Palisades fire. We'll take a quick look in right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone.
He was a resident of Southern California. Do we know what city he lived in? Okay. Yeah, he actually did live in Palisades, and he was familiar with the neighborhood in which this started.
We know that firework. The word arson.
Yes, he's arson. Yes.
We know that fireworks.
Okay, let me go here.
What was the protocol taken around the initial fire on New Year's Day? Was there precaution taken to try and make sure that fire was put out properly? And that's quite a
Yeah.
when that ended and then the next fire.
Yeah, we're not going to get into the full fire response. I'll just tell you the fire department did respond, and they don't say they put out fires, they suppress the fire. So they use the best of their abilities at that time to suppress it. Like we said, there was dense vegetation. The fire went underground, and I'm not a fire expert, but there's only so much apparently you can do about that. So it did smolder there until a week later, in which the winds picked up and reignited. So that's our understanding of it started. Let me go for it here.
All right, yet again, authorities have made an arrest in connection with the deadly and devastating Palisades fire that ravaged part of Los Angeles earlier this year. The fire, along with the Eaton fire in another part of Los Angeles County, well, quite honestly, it took a number of lives, 31 in all. Officials yet again announcing that they have made an arrest and that the suspect actually lived in the Palisades. We'll continue to follow that developing story throughout the afternoon right here on the Live Zone. In a shocking turn during yet another chaotic night in Portland, conservative journalist Nick Sorter was arrested after rescuing a burning American flag from anti-ICE protesters. The viral footage has ignited national debate when defending the U.S. flag becomes grounds for detention. What does that say about free expression and the law enforcement's bias? Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Victoria Churchill. She's a Capitol Hill reporter and Young Voices contributor. Victoria, good to see you and welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Great to be on with you.
So your thoughts overall with regard to what we saw unfold and how the law enforcement handled it?
Yeah, I think it's an important point here first to talk about. Of course, First Amendment protects free speech, free expression. Flag burning is a part of that. Now, of course, we can say that that is allowed under the First Amendment, but also agree that it's morally reprehensible and that if liberal cities want to uphold the First Amendment, they need to go ahead and make sure that they not only protect those that want to do things that I personally find morally reprehensible, but that they also protect the First Amendment when it comes to journalists. And it seems like in this case, at least from what I know, that they only preferred one part of the First Amendment and decided to disregard another one.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I got to tell you, quite troubling. You and I are both journalists, and to think that journalists would not be protected in this manner is yet again troubling. You made mention of what you know. Is there anything else that you can share with us surrounding that entire ordeal?
Well, no, I think in any case, there's always more facts that come out. And so I'm just making my conclusions based off of the facts that are publicly available at this moment, which I think is the best that we can do.
Let's talk about patriotism versus partisan. That should never be an issue. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Americans of all stripes should be proud to be Americans, but I think right now there is definitely one side of the aisle that says that they are proud to be Americans versus the other side of the aisle, I believe, doesn't right now. And, primarily, as you mentioned in the top of the show, I cover Capitol Hill, and I think that that is nowhere more apparent than on Capitol Hill, where lots of politicians that are Democrats have decided to uphold hold up the payments during the government shutdown, which of course is happening right now, that they are going ahead and prioritizing a very niche group of, if you listen to some on the right, particularly illegal aliens, not even Americans, not even people that can vote for these members of Congress, over the needs of so many others, and especially our military and our law enforcement and other just essential services that many Republicans and Democrats alike rely on. And so partisanship, as far as we look at it on Capitol Hill, I think it's been chosen by some over patriotism.
Yeah, it's really interesting yet again to see how all of this is unfolding, and obviously we'll have to keep a very close eye on just that. We have been speaking with Victoria Churchill, Capitol Hill reporter and Young Voices contributor, kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. We appreciate you, Victoria. Make it a great day.
Thank you so much. Always great to be with you.
All right, folks, we'll take our first break. On the flip side of that break, October, National Cybersecurity Month. We'll discuss that and so much more next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, October is here, and that means it's time for National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Every year, this month serves as a crucial reminder for all of us to step up our game when it comes to protecting our digital lives. You see, cyber threats are more prevalent than ever. Joining us now to discuss this is so much more is Mr. Eric O'Neill. He's a former FBI counterintelligence operative, famously helped capture Robert Hanssen, the most damaging spy in U.S. history. I should also add, he's now one of the country's foremost experts on cybercrime and how to stay safe online. Yesterday, he's been a busy guy. Well, he released the newest book, Spies, Lies, in Cybercrime, Cybersecurity Tactics to Outsmart Hackers and Disarm Scammers. Eric, it is truly an honor to have you on the show. Welcome.
Guy, it's great to be here. This is my local Fox news channel, so it's good to be home.
Yeah, I got to tell you, you have a life script that's made for a movie with regard to help capturing the most damaging spy in U.S. history. That alone, I could spend an hour chit-chatting with you about. However, we'll have to do that another time. I'm curious, what is the biggest consumer cybercrime trend that everyone is really dealing with this year?
Certainly. What cybercrime right now, especially for consumers, is moving into what we call social engineering attacks. A misconception that people make is that cyber criminals are attacking your computer with their computer. They're not. They're attacking you, and they're using psychology. They're using urgency, so you don't stop and think. They're using emotion. Do this, or something will go wrong. And also benefit. Do this, and you'll make a fortune. So the two biggest consumer scams that we're seeing right now that everyone has to be worried about is AI-based imposter attacks. These are attacks that might come over text, they might come over email, which is the #1 way that these attacks get launched, but even more, they're coming over social media. And what they'll use is some sort of AI voice or even an AI image of someone you know and trust telling you to do something. you probably shouldn't do.
Yeah, there's so much good with AI, but, well, we got to be real. There's a lot of bad that comes along with it as well. With that being said, what are some of the habits folks can immediately implement to make sure that they too don't become a victim?
Absolutely. So a lot of these attacks are trying to exploit you and trick you into giving up your username and password. And one of the easiest ways that you can defend against that so that they don't hijack your account and take over your account and then use your account to attack all your friends is turn on multi-factor identification. It's the number one thing you can do. Turn it on everywhere, not just your bank account, right? But all of your social media accounts, all of your email accounts, everywhere that you connect online. And what I mean by multi-factor is that text that comes to your phone after your password, or even better, use an authentication app on your phone. Another thing that I talk about in my book is everyone has to develop a cop instinct. If it doesn't feel right, stop. Don't give in to pressure. Cyber criminals try to pressure you. They'll say, if you don't click here, your package won't be delivered. If you don't click here, then this opportunity is going to go away. It's going to disappear. Don't click on links. Instead of clicking on links, close the email and go directly to the retailer or manufacturer or your bank or UPS or FedEx or whoever is reaching out to you and look for the message on their website.
Yeah.
And most importantly, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. Don't fall for confidence schemes. They will try to make you think that you've just won the lottery, that you just got this incredible opportunity. But if it looks too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true.
Yeah, it reminds me of that phrase, if you see something, say something. And that's exactly what we should do with regard to this. Let's talk about parents as well, because we have so many parents watching, and they're probably asking themselves right now, how do I protect my kids? Let's say their digital footprint, recognizing, let's say, phishing at kids as well.
Hey, that's a great question, Guy, because young adults and teenagers are a prime target for cyber criminals. Now, first of all, they have pristine credit most often, especially teenagers and even young children. They are also uniquely vulnerable to exploitation attacks online. And there are attacks where cyber criminals will chat with them on video game sites, on social media. Kids are on social media way too earlier than they should. Get them to do something that they shouldn't do and then exploit them. Say, if you don't pay me money, I'm going to make sure everyone sees this. And it has led to bullying, it's led to emotional abuse, and it's led to incredible depression by kids. I spend 2 chapters in my book on exploitation, chapter 10 and 11, and I've said that every parent should read those 2 chapters with their teenager, because it will go through all the different ways that cyber criminals are launching these attacks against our children in ways that we can very quickly defend against them. The number one thing you can do as a parent is be there with your kids.
Yeah.
Talk to them about responsible use of social media. We don't let our children we never have 3 kids. I have a 12-year-old. She's not getting her first phone until she's 14 because they are just not ready for it. We don't let anyone on social media until they're responsible enough. And when they are on social media, even with my older teens, we monitor and we check and we make sure that we're watching our kids to make sure they're not being bullied online, that they're not being exploited online, and that they know they can come to us with anything, no judgment.
Eric, I have time for one more question. I'm going to squeeze it in if I can, and that is we are approaching the holiday months, which means, you know what? Not only presents, but holiday scams. And I'm hoping you could provide us with some information about what we need to look out for.
Okay, here's 2 really quick. Fake deals and phony online stores. You might be scrolling online and then you see this amazing price, 70% off on a hot toy or a gadget or something you want to buy someone, your loved one, for the holidays. It's often a scam. Don't fall for the holiday urgency. You might click through and either you're going to be the victim of a cyber attack or you'll buy something that never shows up. Here's another big one. Fraudulent charities and imposter donations, right? So this might be an urgent, heart-wringing email or ad asking for a donation or a charity. Don't fall for it. Always do your checking to make sure that that is a real charity and not a fake one. And here's a couple tricks that you can use. 1, use a credit card for everything you buy. Don't use your debit card. Use your credit card because you get fraud protection. If you don't receive that thing that you bought online, you get fraud protection. If they steal that number, then the credit card will reimburse you. Don't click on links. Go directly to the retailer site to buy everything. Don't buy things from your social media app like Instagram or TikTok or wherever you're scrolling through. And beware of those fake charities. You can use websites to check the charity to make sure it's registered appropriately and it's not a fake campaign just trying to steal your money.
Great information from one of the good guys, and I'm making reference to Mr. Eric O'Neill. The name of the book, Spies, Lies, in Cybercrime, Cybersecurity Tactics to Outsmart Hackers and Disarm Scammers. Eric, truly appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us on the Live Zone.
Thank you, Guy, and everybody stay safe out there.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It is now 3 minutes past the bottom of the hour. Calling one, calling all. It's that time of the year again. Time for the 5th annual Can We Talk Multicultural Arts and Wellness Summit. It all takes place October the 10th through the 12th at the National Harbor, spearheaded by the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation. The summit will honor World Mental Health Day, which is on Friday, with a 3-day experience blending art, culture, and healing to break down mental health stigma. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Tracy Jade Jenkins. She is the founder of SOMAH Institute. I should also make mention she serves as the executive director of the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation. Tracy, good to see you and welcome to the show. Uh-oh, Tracy, that little button right there, press it right there so we can hear you.
Yeah,
there we go. So it happens sometimes. We call it the Wednesday Gremlins. You know, First of all, I got to tell you, I absolutely love the title of this. And I'm going to tell you why, and you probably already know why, Tracy. It's entitled, yet again, Can We Talk Multicultural Arts and Wellness Summit? I teased this earlier on the Lion Lunch Hour show, and you know what we did immediately after? Can we talk? We started singing that song by Tevin Campbell.
Yes, absolutely. We get that all day, every day, and we love it.
It is so catchy, and what you are doing is so amazing. Folks that are hearing about this, do tell. What's to be expected?
Well, we have an action-packed weekend of wellness. On Friday, we have something called Sacred Conversations. So we'll have all kinds of talks around, the different issues that affect all kinds of community members, from the immigrant population to the BIPOC community, marginalized communities. And so this was an opportunity for us to have conversations around healing and even hearkening back to some of our old traditions, right, from different cultures. We'll be doing some Japanese forest bathing in the area. We'll partake in capoeira, which originated in Brazil. So we have a plethora of conversations and healing modalities that we'll offer to the community, the global community, actually. So we are extremely excited.
Yeah. Okay, Tracy, I lied. The title is not the only thing I like. I got to tell you, I like the fact, well, I really like the fact that you're addressing an issue that for so long, we, people that look like you and I, have literally swept right under the rug. You are really bringing this to the forefront.
Yeah, and sometimes we, the way we heal doesn't look like showing up into, a room with somebody with a white coat and having a talk about it. Some of the practices could be things like basket weaving from, the Geechees in the Gullah. It could be, gardening with your grandma. There's so many different ways that we connect in and that we can find our healing. So we're hearkening back to that, and we're saying, hey, don't forget about grandma and them.
Yeah.
They had some good recipes for us. So we're honoring that tradition, and not only in the Black culture, but multicultural experiences. So we're excited.
Yeah. For me, that recipe from Grandma was a switch, which worked.
Oh, no.
That's just for me, and I got to tell you, I'm okay now. Tracy, obviously on Friday, we'll celebrate all things with regard to World Mental Health Day, and your foundation has really been supporting communities, not only throughout the country, but specifically right here in the DMV. I'm hoping you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, so we have an amazing partnership with PG County through the county chair, Edward Burrows III. And we've been in schools across PG County, specifically in District 8. And we've also been connected with students, offering them all the things I'm talking about, yoga and capoeira, hip hop therapy. We're also in partnership with the Pull-Up Fund, who is supporting this. So we've gotten a lot of love in PG County, and we have a huge announcement coming up.
Okay.
During this weekend.
Yeah. It's interesting. I got the memo about that, and they said, Guy, I don't know what this announcement is, by the way, but they said, Guy, we got a huge announcement. Maybe we can tell you on the show, and I guess with you plugging it like that, you can't. So that's just fine. But I will make mention of this. On Sunday, Taraji P. Henson, obviously, will be there. Wale, Sherry Shepard, and that other big guest that you made mention of. This is just really cool because you're bringing star power as well.
Yeah, hey, guess what? I can't break that news here. So we have two big announcements. One is our partnership with Parks and Planning and Chairman Burrows. But the other one is, guess who's coming to brunch? And we've been holding this, but I can now announce that Megan Thee Stallion will be coming to brunch on Sunday.
Wow. Okay, I want to make sure I heard this clear. So, Houston, can you hear me now? Tracy, can I hear you again? Who's coming?
Megan Thee Stallion will be there having sacred conversations with us and Taraji. Also, Wale will be there. He'll be having conversations as well. So we're not playing with this Can We Talk piece. We're pulling in folk from the top to the middle to all around. Come in, let's share, let's heal together. I can't say who the performance part, but I can tell you that they will be there to have these very important and very inspiring conversations.
Wow.
So come on out.
Well, how lucky are we that you get a chance to debut that right here on the Live Zone? That's just so cool. I truly appreciate that. I'm sold. I'm trying to be there. What do I need to do in order to get a ticket and sit front and center?
Yes, well, front and center might be gone, but there may be other seats available because we do want to make sure that the community here gets an opportunity to get in on these. And so you'll just go to our website at BorisLHensonFoundation.org, or you can go to our social media page at BL Henson Foundation, go to the link tree, and hopefully there will be tickets left. But after this announcement, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Tracy, I got to let you go. I got to get a ticket.
Come on.
I'm kicking you off
Can't
the
wait to
show.
see
I got to go. Yet again, it's the 5th annual Can We Talk Multicultural Arts and Wellness Summit taking place beginning on Friday all the way through Sunday at National Harbor. Yes, Taraji P. Henson in the house, Wale, Sherry Shepard, and just announced right here on the Live Zone, none other than Megan Thee Stallion joining as well. Tracy, I truly appreciate you coming on the show, and thank you so much for that. That was cool.
Thank you for having me and can't wait to see you on Sunday.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll
Thank
take a
you,
quick
guys.
break.
Bye-bye.
We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Hey, did you know that October is Oaktober as well? You're probably thinking, what the heck are you talking about, Guy? That's because October is Oak Awareness Month, a time that honors one of the most beneficial yet threatened trees. Once dominant in the mid-Atlantic, oaks are now in decline. Still, they're essential, supporting wildlife, cooling neighborhoods, cleaning the air, and managing stormwater. They're also icons of our natural heritage. Joining us to discuss just that is, hey, our guy is back, Mr. Lou Meyer, arborist on the Live Zone. Good to see you, Lou. Welcome to the show.
Great to see you, Guy. Happy Oaktoberfest to you.
That is just so cool. A couple of things. I love that. Second of all, I'm glad we were able to get you on after the rain went to the wayside. I was a little concerned about that earlier today, but we saw that it's somewhat cleared up. All right, Lou. So
I was out looking at trees, looking at oaks, and it was pouring rain. I thought, oh no, but this is perfect.
yeah, but to that point, you heard me make mention in the intro that oak trees are known for cooling neighborhoods, cleaning the air. But, I guess it's not really safe to stand under a tree when it's raining, especially if there's lightning. But I would assume you can kind of stay dry.
Absolutely. Oaks are great for shelter for all sorts of people. People in the rain, animals throughout the year. Oaks are wildly important to our ecosystem. You mentioned a lot of these in your intro, pollinator habitats. So there are over 400 species of oaks in the world, mainly in the Northern Hemisphere. And we have quite a few here in the Mid-Atlantic. But they can support all sorts of important wildlife. So again, the white oak, the state tree of Maryland and multiple other states can support over 400 types of pollinators, which is really important for our survival.
Yeah. All right, so I'm excited because not only is it October, but I get to say it again. It's Oaktober. I got to keep on practicing that. It just doesn't roll off the tongue the way I want it to. But I'm curious, why is this month so important to you as well and other arborists?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, oaks are cornerstone species, keystone species for us. Again, the pollinators are really important for air cleanliness. They can sequester a lot of carbon, which is really important. Stormwater runoff is a big deal here in the Chesapeake Bay region. To give you an idea, a 25-inch oak can absorb about 2,500 gallons of stormwater per year. So if you think of, floods in different neighborhoods, oaks can really pull that up. And they have been in decline over the past few years for a variety of reasons. One of the biggest ones is 2018, we had record rainfall, and oaks, for the most part, don't like having what we call wet feet in the industry. So they don't like having their roots under a lot of water. And that really started a chain reaction of events that have led us to today. Now, they haven't disappeared completely. Oaks are still all around us. They just need a little more care. So Oaktober gives us a chance to put a little focus on a species that's so important to us.
Wow. I love what did you call it? The feet of the tree?
Yeah, wet feet.
Wow.
So that's what you refer to roots. If a tree likes growing in wet areas, we say that they like to have wet feet. Just a good way for us to remember it.
Okay. All right, Lou, I see you have props. In this case, I think I just saw a leaf in your hand.
I do.
All right. What's that about?
So a question that's often asked is how to identify oaks? Well, one is the acorns, right? We all know acorns, oaks grow acorns. And you can see behind me, I've got a row of pin oaks. So these are oaks that you see all over the place. A lot of landscape pin oaks, a lot of front yard pin oaks. But there's two big oak families, the red oaks and the white oaks. And I've got leaves from both of those. And the way to tell the difference is the red oaks have these pointy tips to them. So if you see those leaves with the pointy tips, whereas the white oaks have the rounded lobes. So we call those lobes, rounded lobes and pointy lobes. So red oaks have points, white oaks have rounded lobes. Something you could tell your friends when you're out on a hike.
Yeah, gosh, I'm going to the Caps opener tonight, and I will now be the smartest man in the arena because I plan to start the conversation with that. Thanks to you, my friend. Thanks to you. Before we wrap up, anything else we should really know about Oaktober, as we like to call it, all things with regard to National Oak Month?
Yeah, your oaks are an important species, but all tree species are. So as we roll into these winter months, it's a good idea to get an arborist out to your property to make sure that your trees are happy and healthy as we enter that dormant period. This is a great time for inspections, and we make free house calls. But yeah, a focus on the oaks is always important. They're just such an important species to us.
All right, so one more time, and I want to make sure I get it right because I got to be right with regard to what you taught me. If it's round, and I'm making reference to the leaf, that is a white oak. If it's pointed, and I'm yet again the leaf, it is a red oak. Is that correct?
You are correct.
All right. High five going out to me, but more importantly, high five going out to you.
Arborist, Guy.
I think you do a better job, my friend. Yet again, Lou Meyer, arborist, as we celebrate all things surrounding Oak Awareness Month. I appreciate you, my friend. Stay dry.
Happy Oaktober, Guy. Thanks so much.
We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. So it's the latest credit card scam, and it has a Halloween-sounding name. By the way, it is just as scary. The Better Business Bureau now warning Americans about ghost tapping. That's when scammers steal money directly from your bank account without any physical contact with your debit or credit card. So, how does it exactly work, and what can you do to make sure you don't fall victim to it? To answer those questions, we welcome America's Credit Repair and the founder of credit repair firm Better Qualified, none other than Mr. Paul Auster, back here on the live. So, Paul, always good to see you, my friend. Happy October.
Happy October, and thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, but of course, this is scary, pun intended. In this case, we're talking about ghost tapping. It really caught my attention because I guess, as you heard me allude to, the scammers steal money directly from your bank account without any physical contact. Sir, do tell, and how do I not become a victim?
So, listen, I've talked about this before on the show, and it comes down to this. We've sacrificed a tremendous amount of our security, right, for the sake of convenience. And we all wanted this speed to checkout. Well, we got it, but it came at the trade-off. Security took the back seat here. So we're talking about specifically tap to pay. And it's really, really easy. You don't even have to reach out your wallet. We all have our phones in our hand 24/7, unfortunately. But it made it really easy to start paying for stuff. You didn't need the physical credit card. You could just use your phone. Well, unfortunately, the bad actors, as they always do, they come in on the coattails of this technology, and they have figured out a way to capture our card information that's saved in our digital wallets, whether it's on an iPhone or an Android. They put it through a ghost phone, and they are now sending out, here's the really scary part. They are building a syndicate, mules. When we used to talk about mules and crime syndicates, it was not for cybersecurity. Well, now it is. So unfortunately, right now, this is happening in a lot of Chinese-speaking areas, and they are building teams of these mules and syndicates of people that are going to use this technology. They're going to go out into the world as tourists, and they're going to use my information, your information that they've stolen prior, and they're going to buy lots of luxury goods. Those goods get transported back, and then they get resold on the black market. And this is happening as we speak. This is the fastest growing segment of this type of identity theft.
Yeah, yet again, I will repeat what I said earlier. This is scary. Is this different than the skimmer ordeal that many of us were dealing with? And that is, let's say you go to a gas station, you take out my credit card, I stick it in that little machine right there, and obviously there was something fake over it to which the bad guys were able to gain my information. Is it something similar to that?
It's actually very similar, because one of the ways that they're actually capturing your information is through ghost tapping your cards. So, look, I was one of the first people to be like, well, why would I need an NFID blocker or these sleeves that are supposedly blocking my credit card information from these identity thieves? Well, now we know that this is a real thing. So there's lots of different ways that these thieves are capturing our credit card information. Go back to, let's call it the old school ways: phishing, vishing, social engineering. They're making phone calls like they're from your bank. They're sending you emails, and they're actually capturing your credit card information that way still. But they're also now, it's more prevalent that they are tapping to get your information.
Wow. All right, so Paul, how do I protect myself from this issue?
Yeah, so what I talked about, using one of those RFID blockers, the wallets or the sleeves, to shield your cards from being exposed. And they really do work, right? Also, if you get an unexpected text message asking for a verification code, don't give out any of that information, because it's a bad actor trying to use the card that's in your wallet. And if you are in a crowded, maybe you took a vacation, you're in a foreign country, try not to tap to pay for things, because that very POS system could be one of those skimmers that you were talking about. So you're not actually paying for the merchandise, you're actually giving up all of the information that's in your digital wallet.
Yeah, Paul,
And,
I got a...
they always say monitor. They always say monitor your credit cards and bank statements. But in today's technology, if that's not being done in real time, If you wait for the statement to be delivered, or you go on once a month or something like that, it's far too late.
Sure.
If your bank offers you the ability to monitor your card information, the transactions in real time, set it so every time your card is used in a transaction, forget about putting limits on those transactions. Every time my card is used in a transaction, I want to know about it.
Yeah. You know, Paul, I'm so glad you touched on that. I got a message from my bank the other day. It's legit. I actually reached out to the bank personally, stating that I needed to upgrade my card. I now know why. And this is something that's really serious. And they really, well, they alluded to the fact that I could become a victim. Should that happen, should one actually fall to this scam, if you will, what should one do immediately?
So you have to contact your bank or credit card company immediately, lock the card down. They're going to put the fraud detection in place, and that should eliminate the further risk of that card being used. But remember, we have a tendency, we upload cards into our digital wallets and we forget what cards are in there, how many cards are in there. So now's a really good time to do a little bit of digital wallet cleaning. And only keep one card on file that you would want to use in that wallet. That way, if there's a problem, you can shut down one card and one card only as soon as possible.
Should it be a particular card? In this case, I'm making reference to a debit card versus a credit card.
That's a great question. So it should always be a credit card in this situation. I always talk about using debit cards for purchases because, you know, we don't want to put any more credit card balances. But in terms of protecting our data and security, credit cards just have that much more protections built in. So in this case, and they're not linked to our checkings and savings accounts. So use a credit card for your digital wallet, and use one and only one card for sure.
All right. Any other tips before we wrap up, Paul?
Listen, this always falls back on us, right? The banks aren't going to protect us. The government's not going to protect us. This comes down to us sacrificing convenience for security. And just take a step back. Do you really have to use tap to pay? Because if you're not making that many purchases with tap to pay, you know, I know my son uses it all of the time. And he was the one who introduced it to me. And he said, Dad, it's easy. Upload the card into your wallet and then you don't have to worry. If you could walk around without your wallet and continue to pay for things. But just think that all the way through. The thieves don't need the card. They don't need the information. They can just make these purchases without anything other than the digital footprint that they've stolen from you. So sacrificing security for convenience, I'm not a fan anymore.
Yeah.
I would rather take my card out, tap it, swipe it, stick it in there. You know, let's go old school here because this is going to continue to get worse and worse for sure. Coming into the holiday season, this really is a scary situation.
I have always said I've been a bigger fan of old school versus new school. I think you hit the nail right on the head with that one, sir. And that's why you are America's credit repairman. I'm making reference to none other than Mr. Paul Auster. He is the founder of credit repair firm Better Qualified, and he joined us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend.
Have a great day.
All right, folks, we'll take a quick break. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone. All right, guys, just like that, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It is now 1 o'clock. Yes, the top of the hour. Thank you so much for joining us yet again on this Wednesday. Hump Day, as we like to call it. Time for a little celebrity dish. Poet Taylor, WPGC Midday Shenanigans, now joining us right here on the Live Zone to do just that. Dish things all surrounding celebrities. Good to see you, my friend. Uh-oh, Poet, I can't hear you. Press the little button right there. The little volume button so I could make sure I could hear you. Did you press it? There we go. I still can't hear you, Poet. All right, I'll tell you what. Let's see if we can get the little gremlins worked out. I want to make sure we get her on, and it happens sometimes. I say blame it on the rain. In this case, others say blame it on technology. Either way, we want to make sure we get her. We'll take a 2-minute break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It is now 4 minutes past the top of the hour. We'll get back to Poet momentarily, but obviously the big story of the day, one of which happens to be the government shutdown. Now in day 8, earlier yesterday, President Trump stating that furloughed government employees may very well not get a paycheck. Democrats crying foul, saying that's not the case. Both sides speaking out, among them, Mike Johnson. Let's take a look in.
Democrats distract you and try to convince you of things that are not true. Yesterday, or a couple of days ago, Monday, I laid out 6 simple truths about how the Democrats shut down the government, why they did it, and why it is so important for them to come to their senses and turn the lights on. Yesterday, I went through 5 fast facts for you about the shutdown, and I explained, as everyone now knows, Chuck Schumer's desperate attempts to rehabilitate his own image by shutting down the government. Today, we're going to talk about some of the consequences of that shutdown and what it means to real people around this country, real Americans experiencing the devastating cost of their political antics here. And I'm going to read you some sample quotes and headlines that we just collected yesterday from around the country. Here's a headline from The Hill. GOP leaders point to Capitol Police missed paychecks as shutdown drags on. So today, the U.S. Capitol Police officers are going to come to work to bravely protect U.S. government officials and staff in these dangerous times. And they're going to do that without pay. Many Democrats in this chamber, by the way, I want to note, are going to receive paychecks this month while the men and women of the U.S. Capitol Police who are protecting them will not. Here's another headline from the New York Post. Aviation groups warn a government shutdown will delay aircraft safety inspections, maintenance work on critical equipment. While air traffic controllers are going to continue to serve in their posts, thankfully, critical safety inspections are going to stop, increasing risk for air travelers. That affects everybody. Here's another headline from Georgia, local media in Georgia. Central Georgia food banks prepare for surge of new clients during the government shutdown. It's a sad headline. Remember, Georgia's 2 Democrat senators, Warnock and Ossoff, have now voted 5 times to keep the government closed down. 5 times so far. I suspect they may continue, and they're hurting real people in the state of Georgia. Here's one from New Hampshire local media. National parks caught in the crosshairs of government shutdown. Let me point out that both senators from New Hampshire, Senators Shaheen and Hassan, have repeatedly voted to keep the government closed, and New Hampshire's national park sites closed by extension. How about New Jersey? Here's a headline yesterday. Hospital at-home telehealth programs on hold amid government shutdown. You got 2 Democrat senators in New Jersey, Andy Kim and Cory Booker, and they have repeatedly voted against funding these programs, which New Jerseyans rely upon daily. Here's one from Michigan. Michigan nonprofit leaders said a shutdown would be at best disruptive and at worst potentially devastating for local communities. There are 2 Democrat senators in Michigan, Gary Peters and Alyssa Slotkin, and they have voted now 5 times to enable this devastation upon their communities. One more, I could do this all day. Here's one more from CBS News. Government shutdown fears have Colorado food banks bracing for potential new visitors. You guessed it, 2 Democrat senators from Colorado, Michael Bennet and John Hickenlooper. They keep voting over and over to keep the government closed. Democrats claim they want to negotiate, but that is already happening in a bipartisan, bicameral fashion. And we brought in the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee this morning, Tom Cole, who can talk more about that. But I just want to say this as I yield to Mr. Cole, and then you'll hear from the rest of the leaders, and I'll take some questions. There is one sad and inescapable fact that no one can forget here. This shutdown is nothing more than political cover for Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. They are worried about the Marxist flanked in their Democrat Party. The Marxists are about to elect a mayor in New York City. That's Chuck Schumer's state, and he's terrified that he's going to get a challenge from his far left. I've noted that Chuck Schumer is a very far left politician, but he's not far enough left for the communists, and they're coming for him. And so he has to put up his dukes and show a fight. So they picked a fight on something that's not even related at all to the shutdown and the funding that we should have gotten done by the end of September. We just need a stopgap measure to give us a little more time to get the job of Congress done. They refuse to do it because they're playing politics, and real Americans are paying the price for it. But let me introduce Chairman Cole, and he can tell you about some of these discussions that have been going on. Mr. Cole?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Usually when I follow the Speaker, I usually think I should just say what he said and excuse myself right away. But in this case, it is pretty easy. I mean, we've had a pretty decent year in the House Appropriations Committee, all 12 bills out of committee before September 30th. 3 that we are in negotiations on with the Democrats. Those negotiations have gone very well. We're prepared pretty quickly to close once the government's reopened. We could get at least 3 bills done. The president could sign them in. Those things would be immune from a shutdown until the following September 30th. Then we'd pick another group of 3 or 4 bills, and then we would do in cooperation with our Democratic colleagues and start working on that. So the process, honestly, was moving along pretty well, and then we had unrelated demands, obviously related to repealing work the Congress had already done on Medicaid, and then these new discussions on subsidies. And I do want to point out, at least the bill we have right now in front of us doesn't even go till December 31st. I mean, these actions would still, we could do this work and still have time to turn around, as the president and our leadership has pointed out in both chambers, and sit down and talk about these other issues. But it's hard to do much when the negotiations aren't happening simply because the government is shut down. So again, we're prepared to work. I've got very talented counterparts on the Democratic side. They're good negotiators. We've negotiated a lot of labor issue bills together between Patty Murray, Rosa DeLauro, and myself, and obviously Susan Collins is one of the best legislators in the building. So it's not like we were going to have a hard time, I think, finding common ground, but you do have to restore the government for that to happen. Democrats are not likely to move bills while they've got the government shut down, because it suggests that absent that, we would be moving through the process as normal, and frankly, in a much better shape than we've been in recent years. So again, I'm just hopeful that my colleagues in the Senate, and it's worth pointing out, a majority of the Senate's already on our side, a bipartisan majority of 55. So this really does get down to Leader Schumer and the bulk of his caucus just simply shutting down the government over items unrelated to what we normally do in appropriation.
All right, yet again, you have been watching GOP leadership discussing all things surrounding the government shutdown, which has now entered the 8th day. President Donald Trump has confirmed that Sean Diddy Combs requested a pardon on his prostitution-related felony convictions. Trump told journalists just that in the Oval Office on Monday. So, what are the chances of this happening? Let's discuss. Yet again, joining us, Mr. Eric Faddis, trial and criminal attorney, back here on the Live Zone. All right, Eric, let's jump into it. Good to see you, my man.
See you, Guy.
All right, so in this case, it looks like Diddy's team is trying to pull the Trump card, pun intended. In this case, ask President Trump for a pardon. The likelihood of that happening?
You know, with other administrations, I would say it's very unlikely. Usually pardons come at the end of the president's tenure. President Trump has sort of shattered all of those norms and more in issuing pardons in the beginning of his tenure. So it's certainly something that's on the table. I think Trump is going to look at, hey, what are the optics of this? Can I score some political wins if I do this? Or am I going to incur some harm to my political future if I do it? And so that's sort of the analysis the administration is probably conducting. I think the likelihood is relatively low, but higher than it would have been with any other president.
Yeah, let's talk about celebrity status, which can quite honestly play a role. We know that at one point, Trump and Diddy, or back then as he calls him Puffy, or Puff Daddy, happened to be friends. And then the whole political thing happened, and Diddy obviously campaigned against him. Do you think the celebrity status yet again will play a role? Perhaps Trump can win him back in his favor and will use that to really carry on his message?
You know, we've seen Trump sort of favor folks that are in the public eye, who are celebrities. You know, you look at some of his appointments that he made. Jeanine Pirro, who is a TV host, hasn't practiced law for decades, appointed her as a U.S. attorney. So it wouldn't be shocking to me if he grants some kind of favor due to Diddy's celebrity status. That being said, Diddy's sentence is relatively short. Usually pardons are given out on longer sentences, but still on the table.
Yeah, yet again, he was sentenced, I believe, to 4 years. He's already served 1 year, so it's likely that he will spend 3 years behind bars. Hey, Eric, not to go off on a tangent here, but we know that Diddy has requested to serve jail time in New Jersey, stating that that prison that he would do just that at isn't as dangerous. The conditions are a lot better. From your experience, is that typical? Would an attorney go to the judge and say, hey, okay, you're sentencing me, but I want to stay over here instead of right here?
It's not common, Guy. These are things that it seems like sort of the higher echelon of society gets to do, whereas other folks don't. People who are sentenced to prison usually, tough, bro. That's where you got to go. But we've seen Ghislaine Maxwell get a recent transfer due to some alleged benefits that she may have provided in some interview with the government. Typically, you would go to the Bureau of Prisons or some other administrative actor and not to the judge. But we've seen celebrities prevail in this in the past, so I think Diddy has a shot.
All right, so how does it work, Eric? Does the president just simply pick up the telephone, call the warden or call the judge, say, he's a free man, hang up the phone, and Diddy walks right out of prison?
Well, it's a little more complicated than that, but the president does have wide discretion in terms of pardon power. It's not like he could give a pardon and then someone's going to challenge that or something. There is no way to challenge it. And so what he says is really the final word on pardons. And if he does decide to grant one, I think it would be effectuated in very short order.
All right. Well, yet again, we will continue to keep a close eye on that. I have said it, and I'll say it time and time again. This whole ordeal is just fascinating to me. Speaking of fascinating, a lot of folks on the edge of their seats as they continue to, react to all of the details that unfold surrounding former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez, now facing a felony charge of battery involving serious bodily injury, in addition to the misdemeanor charges stemming from a weekend incident in Indianapolis that led to his arrest. We know that the Fox Sports analyst was pepper sprayed, stabbed multiple times during a late night altercation in a downtown alley over the weekend, which resulted in criminal charges against him. Now, the police affidavit alleges Sanchez smelled of alcohol, accosted the 69-year-old truck driver who backed into a hotel loading dock, leading to a confrontation outside that vehicle that prompted the driver to then pull out the knife to defend himself. There is a lot to unpack here, Eric.
Sure, and you know that is the initial narrative. That's really the narrative from the government. There are certainly two sides to every story. There are some holes in terms of timelines and things like that. But my understanding is there may be surveillance video in the vicinity that could have captured what happened. That would really elucidate who was the initial aggressor. How did this altercation escalate? Those are critical considerations in the court case that is ongoing.
I'm so glad you touched on that, Eric. I was reading about this earlier. You just pointed out the court will look at who is the aggressor. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason why that is so important is because if Mark says, if he actually is the aggressor, and the video shows that, if he says that he was then defending himself, you can't do that because you, in essence, were the aggressor. Is that correct?
That's exactly right, Guy. You should have gone to law school. That's correct. So essentially, the idea is that hey, you can't start a fight and then when that fight escalates, claim self-defense. Oh, woe is me. You can't be the person to initiate that. You can't provoke some kind of unlawful physical action. Then when it happens, say, oh, whoa, this is so bad for me. So yeah, it would be an impediment to him raising a self-defense claim if it is determined that he is the initial aggressor.
All right, so we'll end with this. It started as a misdemeanor. It's now a felony. Why? Why was it upgraded, if you will, to just that?
My understanding, Guy, is that that was due in part to an evaluation of the injuries of the alleged victim. Started out as sort of a simple battery kind of thing, like similar to a bar fight or something like that. But then when they saw that the alleged victim purportedly suffered serious bodily injury, now that usually includes fractions or even deformity or protracted loss of the functioning of a part of the body, that ups the ante. That escalates things to felony world, which is where Mark Sanchez is now. My understanding is he's facing 1 to 6 years in prison.
Wow, truly fascinating and just a horrible story, just to think of all his success in the mere fact that he is actually in this position. Hey, you made mention of me becoming a lawyer. If you actually offer law school, I'm talking about Eric Faddis Law. I'll be your first student, my friend. I'd love to sign up. Eric Faddis, all things with regard to attorneys surrounding the latest with Mark Sanchez and Sean P. Diddy Combs. We'll chat soon, Eric. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Guy.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. You know the deal. If it's live and it's happening, we are taking you there. In this case, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries and other Democrats are holding a meeting on health care. Democrats have called on Republicans to negotiate on health care subsidies in order to reopen the government. Let's go ahead and take a look in.
To guarantee credits remain in place, leaving families in limbo, insurers in flux, and state exchanges unable to provide certainty for the next cycle. And this isn't occurring in isolation. It's part of a much broader pattern where my Republican colleagues choose to harm the welfare of working Americans in order to reward the wealthiest among us, cutting essential programs and weaponizing federal agencies that sow divisions. The big ugly law, which slashes more than $1 trillion from Medicaid and makes it harder for people to enroll in Medicare and CHIP, will leave millions of Americans uninsured. And that's not just a budget. It's a blueprint for decimating America's healthcare system. The shutdown the Republicans engineered is accelerating the very crisis they created. And it must stop. Families across the country are watching their premiums spike, some hundreds of dollars a month, because House Republicans are holding these tax credits hostage. It's cruelty masquerading as fiscal responsibility. So I urge my Republican colleagues to get back to work. End this shutdown, extend the tax credits, reverse the cruelest cuts in H.R. 1. Families in North Carolina and across the country are watching and waiting. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, Representative Ross, for sharing the stories of Shannon, Zoe, and Leah, and so many others. With that, I recognize the gentleman, Mr. Ivey.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank the committee for hosting this hearing. I think this is super timely for sure, particularly for my community. We're in the middle of the government shutdown. I have tens of thousands of government employees who are suffering from that, but they understand that the healthcare crisis is critical, and they're strongly in support of us linking those two together because the Republicans have dug such a deep and dangerous hole with respect to healthcare coverage across the country, and they understand that. They know that the $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts is going to have a devastating impact on many Americans, not just in Prince George's County and not just in Maryland, but across the country. And ripping away the ACA tax credits has been devastating as well. We have, just in my county, the impact of those two things combined together, for example, with respect to the premium increase, a 60-year-old couple is looking at $11,581 tax increase in 1 year. That's $1,000 per month. That's the type of premium work spike that these couples, these communities are facing. Family of four is looking at a 200% increase under the same issues. So it's critically important for us to make sure we maintain this fight and keep pushing forward to make sure we protect the rights for Americans to have basic access to health care. I did want to mention, too, I've been getting a lot of questions from people about where are the House Republicans? I do want to make sure the public understands that the game they played was to try and pass a bill that they knew would be DOA and arrival when it got to the Senate. And they left town quickly, in part so they wouldn't have to be here to try and fix what they'd done, but also so they wouldn't have to deal with the Epstein files, because they knew we were about to pick up number 218 and have enough people to get that passed so we could force them to move forward on that. And then they had the nerve to complain and say that, we don't have enough time to work something out on this healthcare issue, so let's just pass the clean bill. Forget that. For 7 months, starting from January 20th, we knew this day was coming, and they knew it was coming too. And when they passed the big ugly bill that contained the $1 trillion in tax and cuts to Medicaid, they knew the problem they were creating because we presented it to them. We fought them about it with amendments and the like in committee. And then with respect to the Affordable Care Act, refusal to extend those tax credits to protect the American people, they knew about that too. Deborah Wasserman Schultz there is on the committee with me on during the fight when we were trying to present amendments to try and change that. And they voted them down every time. I think it was 3 at least on a party line vote. So they knew it was coming. They moved forward with it anyway. Then they passed that bill that they knew was going to be a DOA. Then they ran from town. And now I don't know if they're in the witness protection program. I don't know where they are, but they need to come back. And the last point on this, and I'll turn it back over. People are asking about whether members of Congress should be paid right now. And I'll say this. The only federal government employees who should not be paid right now are House Republicans, because they're the only ones who are not here doing their job. They knew the mess they created. They left town and they're trying to stay away because they're afraid to come back and deal with the mess and try and fix it. So with that, I'll yield back, but I want to thank the committee again for the work that it's done on this and for putting this together.
Thank you so much to our member panelists. This panel is excused, and we'll next turn to Representative Sarah Jacobs, Representative Dave Min, and Representative Brad Sherman.
That they're offering us a clean CR. First of all, yes, it reads like clean CRs I've voted on and voted in favor of before. But there are 2 issues. But they basically were sending a clean CR to a president with dirty hands. So first, they refuse to put in a provision that prohibits, clearly and with teeth, impoundment of the funds that we send. And second, they refuse to put in a provision preventing rescission. So what does this mean? It means we're supposed to pass a continuing resolution to provide funds for all of the functions of government, including ones that they support far more than we do. And then the president is free to defund whatever priorities he doesn't want, or to send to the Congress a rescission of any provisions. So instead of us agreeing that we continue government funding at the same level, they've got 2 mechanisms to defund Democratic priorities while funding Republican priorities. We're told that they'll negotiate on health care just as soon as we pass their bill. They wouldn't negotiate on health care in January. They knew in February that these credits were going to be abolished and 22 million Americans were going to face massive increase in their premiums. They knew that in March when they wouldn't negotiate. They knew that in April when they wouldn't negotiate. And come July, they said, not only won't we negotiate regarding the people who are going to lose their Obamacare subsidies that are necessary because otherwise their premiums double, we're going to take health care away from people on Medicaid. So they won't negotiate with us for all these months. Now we're supposed to give them what they want, and then they're going to negotiate? I don't think so. Fool me once, shame on me. Shame on you. Fool me twice, shame. Now, we have seen what happens when federal employees don't get paid. Burbank Airport lost air traffic controllers, a major airport close to my district. Massive delays. Why? Because some air traffic controllers decided to call in sick, as we're seeing that across the country. Now, the National Association of Air Traffic Controllers has urged their people to show up unless they are physically sick. But I have a difficult time telling people we're not paying you, but you show up for work. Now, why are we here? Why are we even talking about a continuing resolution? That's not the way to run government. There are 12 appropriations bills that should have passed the House of Representatives in the spring, maybe the early summer. And they should all have become law months before September 30th, because the people that run the government should have known months before their year began on October 1st what their budget was. Well, have Republicans who control both houses of Congress passed these 12 appropriations bills that function different parts of government? Not a single one. They haven't done their job, not in January, not in February, not in March, not in April and May. They have only 3 of those bills have passed the House, and none have passed, and of those 3, none were supported by the Senate. So why is Congress shut down? You know, the last time we had a major major shutdown, it was when Congress was not scheduled to be in session. It was Christmas. But the time before that, Congress was open. We have to be open. If any federal employee is essential, Congress is essential because we're the only ones that can open the government back up. So what we were doing in 2013 when we had a shutdown, we had hearings on FEMA. I represent the Palisades. Those were important hearings. We had hearings scheduled today before Judiciary to deal with the Epstein files. No wonder Congress is shut down. We can't open up the government till we bring Congress back into session. Now, there is an issue where Democrats are divided. Some believe that all Republicans have been sent home because maybe some of them would talk to us about health care, and their leadership doesn't want to do anything on health care. Another chunk of Democrats believe that they sent everybody home so that we wouldn't talk about the Epstein files, and we wouldn't swear in Ms. Grijalva, who will then sign the discharge petition and force a vote on the Epstein files. I think both Democratic groups are right. They don't want to talk about health care, and they certainly don't want to talk about Epstein. So Democrats need to fight for those millions who are losing their health care, including, and I have the statistics for California, but I've gone on too long, and I bet you my colleagues from California will bring those statistics up. But millions of Californians are losing their health care because Republicans wouldn't negotiate in January, they wouldn't negotiate in the spring, and they won't negotiate now.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Sherman. Members are reminded that each panel has an allotment of 10 minutes total. So if you could keep your remarks brief, that would be helpful. And Representative Jacobs of California, you're recognized.
Well, thank you. And I'm honored to be on this esteemed panel of Southern Californians. Thank you to the Steering and Policy Committee for convening this hearing today. One thing I think we need to be clear about is that the Republican shutdown didn't actually begin on October 1st. It began on January 20th. Since he took office, Donald Trump has been shutting down our government and stealing power through DOGE, mass firings of federal workers, slashing federal programs and departments, ignoring Congress's constitutional role, disregarding court orders, deploying the military on American soil against Americans, and so much more. So we should all be clear that whether or not we are in a technical government shutdown, it doesn't change Trump's calculus. It's not going to sway him if he wants to break the law and fire people or illegally deploy our troops on American soil, because he did it before. That's why this isn't business as usual. It's why there's no such thing as a clean, and it's why we need concrete guarantees that this administration will respect checks and balances, recognize Congress's power of the purse, and protect Americans' health care. So here are the facts. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. If Republicans want any Democratic votes, they know what it will take to earn them. We've told them. So they need to show up to work, they need to talk to us, and they really need to come to the table. So here's what Democrats are fighting for. We want to reverse Republicans' devastating Medicaid cuts that kick millions of people off their health care. Over the past several months, I've met many constituents who are the collateral damage of these cuts. I met 5-year-old Delilah Knight at Rady's Children's Hospital. she is possibly the happiest kid I've ever met. You wouldn't know that she has 28 different diagnosed medical conditions and about 6 medical appointments per month because she's constantly singing and laughing and dancing. I met 2-year-old Caesar, who has short gut syndrome, retinal detachment in his left eye, and hearing loss. He has between 20 and 30 medical appointments per year that Medicaid helps coordinate and cover. I also met Marie at San Ysidro Health Clinic in El Cajon, who's getting help with her diabetes thanks to Medicaid. And I met Jesse, who got hurt on the job, and Medicaid was the only reason he was able to get the rehabilitation he needed so that he could go back to work. These are the Americans we're fighting for. We're also fighting to extend life-saving ACA premium tax credits, because if they expire at the end of the year, most people will see their premiums double, if not more. In my district, a 60-year-old couple that makes $82,000 a year will see their premiums go up by $15,000. $15,000! That's crazy! That means more people won't be able to get their chemo, their heart medication, their insulin. Increases like that mean millions of people will be priced out of their health insurance.
All right, yet again, you have been watching a number of House Democrats discuss all things surrounding the, well, let's say the government shutdown in healthcare and, or as they say, the lack thereof. One of the interesting points, Congressman Glenn Ivey of Maryland stating that if anyone should lose their job, it should be the House Republicans. Very interesting rhetoric, yet again, from the Maryland congressman. Speaking of the amazing state of Maryland, our very own Jim Locate now joining us right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Good to see you, my friend. You just interviewed none other than the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore.
Yeah.
One of the many things that's probably top of mind for the governor happens to be the government shutdown. Obviously, this is a big deal with regard to a number of employees, federal employees, living in the state of Maryland, Prince George's County to be exact.
Yeah, well, you have a state that has one of the most highest concentrations of federal workers anywhere in the country. Earlier this week, the state came out with a loan program, $700 loans for people who might be affected by it. $700 it's $700,
Yeah.
but that's not enough to feed the family long term. The governor was one of the first to come out when the shutdown happened to say, hey, look, I don't care how we get to that point, but we have to protect health care, which is something that Democrats have been fighting for. Obviously, the governor himself, a Democrat. He's a congressional delegation that's all Democratic with the exception of one Republican, Andy Harris, and they all seem to be of the same mindset. So we will see where it goes from there, but his attitude has been the biggest failure here is that Washington allowed the government to shut down in the first place.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We know that he's due to speak at BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport today to stand behind a number of federal workers saying, hey, I still stand behind you. The rhetoric is one thing. Doing just that is another when, yet again, the government remains shut down.
And that was what he mentioned about BWI. I mean, here's this big economic engine for Baltimore County, for the entire metro region, where you don't know necessarily, right at this point, if you go to the airport, if your flight's going to take off on time, if you're going to get through TSA on time, because so many of these people are working without pay, which when you think about it, Guy, I mean, that's obscene, regardless of the parties in power here, especially with what we dealt with earlier this year at Reagan, where we've talked about airline safety and you want to make sure people are safe, and now the people who are charged with doing that are doing the job essentially for free for the time being. Maybe long term, if what we heard from the White House yesterday was any indication.
Speaking of the White House, we know the President Trump, and the governor have been going back and forth, tit for tat, as they like to say. The president at one point calling Baltimore, quote unquote, a hellhole, obviously offending the governor. Did he speak about that at all?
We talked about whether or not he's concerned about the National Guard coming to Baltimore, because remember, that was a big thing right after the National Guard came to D.C. Would they come to Baltimore next? And after a lot of that back and forth, remember, the National Guard you technically cannot be deployed unless it's requested by the governor. Well, Governor Moore doesn't want that. But what did we see happen in Chicago this week? We saw the Texas National Guard federalized and sent to Illinois. When I asked Governor Moore, hey, look, the White House will say it's improved the quality of life, it's reduced crime in D.C. I don't know what numbers they're looking at here, but there have been some downticks in certain categories, I think, because of the overall federal surge. He said he thinks it's all for show. He actually said, and this was an interesting line coming from a governor, he says he doesn't get the fetish that the president has for politicizing people in uniform.
Wow.
And keep in mind, unlike President Trump, Governor Moore has served his nation.
Yeah.
So he saw this as something more of a personal affront. But, you know, like, again, let's get back to the whole reason they're doing this. They want to reduce crime. Everybody wants to see crime down, Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever. Baltimore has seen a 50%, or I shouldn't say, I take that back, a 50-year low in murder levels.
Yeah.
But then again, with what we saw in D.C., what did President Trump say? Well, the murder levels were cooked, the crime numbers were cooked. So I don't know what numbers he's going off of, what numbers should be the standard at this point, but the governor said that's a non-starter for him.
Let's, on a lighter note, let's talk about Northwest Stadium.
Yeah.
We know that the Commanders, it's official, are now making their way back to the nation's capital, which means bye-bye to Northwest Stadium. Did he touch on that?
Yeah, and that was what was interesting about this whole deal, and this is something I haven't seen in stadium deals in the past, where the Commanders said that they would help oversee taking down Northwest Stadium and getting that site back to some sort of a functional level that Prince George's County or the state of Maryland or somebody can come in and start redeveloping it. But what was interesting here is he said, I'm happy. Keep in mind, this is an NFL team that he's going to go from a state with 2 NFL teams to 1. But he said, I'm happy for my friends and family members who are Commanders fans because all of their memories were made in D.C., not in Landover. So I think what they would like to see is an area that is that can be used year round. Right now, how often are we talking about people going to Northwest Stadium? You got 8 games, maybe 2 preseason games, a handful of concerts, and that's it. So I think ideally what they would like to see is some property that is used year round, and I think that's what they would move to. But we still have a long time to wait until we get to that point.
We'll end with this, and we know that September last month, the governor announced that he is running yet again for the gubernatorial seat in the state of Maryland. The question was posed, well, Mr. Governor, you don't have bigger aspirations? You don't want to perhaps run for office and end up at 1600 Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Did he touch on that?
We did not touch on that this time because a couple weeks ago he came out again and said he wasn't going to run in 2028. And let's be fair here, there have been a lot of politicians in the past who have said, I'm not looking at the White House, but he has to go through re-election this year.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing because there are so many governors eyeing the White House, Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, Governor Moore, if you would put him on that list, who they have to get through a re-election fight. And it doesn't look really good to start talking about a White House run when you still have the race to keep your job.
Well said. Yeah. Yet again, Jim Lokay. And you can check out that exclusive interview tonight on the Final Five at 11:30,
yes,
correct?
Sir. Yes, sir.
All right. The guy that does it all so well. Thank you so much for
Good
joining
seeing
us
you,
right
Guy.
here on the Live Zone. Hey, I'll tell you what. We'll take you back to, yet again, House Democrats speaking on all things surrounding health care or the lack thereof. Let's go ahead and take a live look in.
I will just tell you, I want to see us stand up right now. They want to see us of the administration, Congress that refuses to act to hold Donald Trump in check. I recently had a chance to meet with my air traffic controllers, and while they are going to work right now, and they're being encouraged to do so by their union, they also are going without pay. Their families are struggling. They don't know how long this shutdown is going to last. And I'll just say that they told me specifically, we need you to stand up and fight. The stakes of this are much more important than us losing pay for a couple weeks. We need you to stand up and fight back. And it's not lost on me as a member of the Oversight Committee that this 3 week of us not being in session, of Republicans not being here, of Mike Johnson closing off the House floor, of not seating Adelita Grijalva, the ICE raids, the troops in our streets, they are all grossly unprecedented. Many of these actions are grossly illegal, but they're also effectively a way to distract from the fact that this administration also is engaged in a massive cover-up of the Epstein files, that they refuse to produce these, that Donald Trump has called these a hoax. As someone who sits on the Oversight Committee, who's talked with the survivors of some of the survivors of the Epstein child sex trafficking ring, let me tell you, this is not a hoax. There are documents out there that we need access to that I think will expose a lot of light onto the breadth and scale of this operation. We demand justice for the survivors, transparency for the American people, and that is also part of why we need to stand up right now, because people deserve transparency and justice. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you so much to our panelists. And as they make their transition, we'll ask Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland, Congresswoman Emily Randall of Washington, and Congresswoman Kelly Morrison of Minnesota to make their way to the witness table. And Congressman Raskin, as you hustle to your seat, you are first.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks to the committee for doing this. You know, if your name's on the ballot, your face should not be on the milk carton. And all we say to our Republican colleagues is show up for work like the rest of America does, because we need you here negotiating an end to this healthcare debacle the Republicans have imposed on the country. I've got 23,000 constituents who receive ACA tax credits that are about to go up dramatically, in most cases double or even triple. A 60-year-old couple in my district earning $82,800 a year are about to see a premium hike of 168% or $11,581. How many people can afford to pay an extra $11,000 a year for their health insurance premiums simply because the Republicans want to shut down the government and throw millions of Americans off of their health care? That doesn't make any sense. I just want to tell you about a couple people in my district concretely what all this means to them. I have a constituent, Cheryl, who's an occupational therapist, and she directs a wonderful boxing exercise program for people who suffer from Parkinson's disease. It's called Rock Steady Boxing in Rockville, Maryland. And so this is an evidence-based program that helps people stay healthy, strong, and independent. If her health insurance costs go up on ACA, Cheryl likely will not be able to continue to serve this community of people suffering from Parkinson's disease. And she says that we've created a supportive community.
All right, yet again, we have been watching a number of House Democrats discuss all things surrounding health care, or as I have been stating, the lack thereof, as the government shutdown continues. Now, day 8. We will continue to monitor that throughout the afternoon right here on Fox 5. In the meantime, let's talk a little do you like it or not. In this case, more than that. Producer Chris now joining us with all things surrounding entertainment. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you as well. Coming up tonight, we've got Khadijah Corey joining us once again live in studio. But earlier this week, I got a chance to sit down with Marissa George, which I know you have met before. She's a big fan of Guy Lambert, by the way. But you know her from Love is Blind. She starred in season 7 of the hit reality show. And look, her storyline, not exactly, didn't go the way she wanted. Let's put it that way. She was blindsided at the end of it. Her engagement ended. But she has turned it in. Listen, and she made lemonades out of lemons, when life hands you lemons, as they say. But I got a chance to chat with her after we sat down for Do You Like It or Not to talk all about the new season of Love is Blind, because a whole new batch of episodes dropped today, 3 new ones.
Okay.
And I got to talk to her all about what this new cast is kind of going through right now as they watch these new episodes, what it's like inside the pods, and then what it's like on the other side. Take a look. All right, we're hanging out here with Love is Blind alum Marissa George. You were on season 7 set right here in Washington, D.C. Yes. Season 9 set out in Denver out now. The first batch of episodes is out already, first 6. The next batch drops this week. So from your experience, can you just kind of talk to me a little bit about what those first 10 days are like in the pods and what this cast is going through right now?
Gosh, the first 10 days are like honestly so exciting. You're on a high, you're dating different guys, you're falling in love, getting crushes, you're making really close friendships with the girls. So to me, the first 10 days are amazing. They're a blast. There's really no responsibilities. You don't have to worry about anything in the outside world, so that really helps. The current cast, what they're going through at this very moment is probably a lot. Like, they're going through hell, if I could even say that word. They're going through it. I mean, when the show comes out, there's so many opinions. You go from being nobody to somebody for a minute, and watching yourself on camera, and also seeing things like, well, it didn't happen that way, or I didn't think I said it that way. And so they're probably mentally in a lot of mental suffering.
Just a couple spoilers in case anyone out there hasn't watched yet, but in this first batch of episodes, we have seen 2 people walk out, Anna and Blake.
Yeah.
I don't remember kind of seeing that in previous seasons until maybe we made it to like the reunion, sort of that interaction with the producers that we saw this time.
Yes.
We talked last time you were here about some of the legal challenges the show has faced, some of the legal issues that cast members have brought up. Do you think that's a little bit of a reaction to that this season?
No, I don't think so. We had plenty of people leave, like, unexpectedly, didn't say goodbye to people. I think the reason why those 2 people were aired for this season is because they actually had matches with people who went on to get engaged. I think a lot of the people that left, either left in a bad way that the production didn't want to show them because they didn't deserve that screen time, or they just weren't in a match where it was going to make the final cut. So yeah, you could always just have left. I could have left at any point. They obviously will talk to you and try to get you to stay, but it's up to you if you want to leave or not.
So one of the cast members who left was Anna. And Anna had connected with Patrick. And so I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about another issue that we've seen this season that I don't know whether they were supposed to kind of talk about race and ethnicity the way that they were very open about it eventually with each other. When you're kind of just hearing the sound of people's voices or you're talking about their past, you can kind of pick up on things from context clues, but how important is it to kind of suss out things like that? I mean, especially if it's supposed to be blind.
I don't think it's really important. People don't realize the production doesn't tell us what to do. So if you want to have that conversation, you can. They're never going to say, do not have a conversation about your race or anything like that. And so some people, like from my season, were very adamant about saying, I don't want anyone to know my race. I was pretty open about it. I didn't really care if they knew or not. So it's really your own experience. And yeah, I saw that a lot with the Asian contestants. And you know, that's up to them if they want to do it, and it makes sense. Everyone has their own reason.
So now, you know, this next batch of episodes will be that kind of getaway. But before they can do that, you have to get engaged, and then you see each other for the first time. As someone who has been through that experience, can you just kind of talk to me a little bit about what you're thinking and feeling, waiting for those doors to open, what that moment is like, how long it lasts, and then how long do you go before you get to see them again and kind of sit with it?
Oh my gosh, it is nerve-wracking. I was so excited. So you get into that room and you're standing in front of the doors and you don't know when they're going to open. They just kind of open when they open. And so it's exciting. You're nervous. You're hoping that they look good, that you'll be attracted to them. That's kind of your only thought because you already have the emotional side. You're just like, hopefully they smell good. Hopefully we kiss good. Like, how awkward is this going to be? So it is very wild, but it's a cool experience. I wish everyone could experience it, to be honest. But you meet for, you know, the time frame that they have you meet there, and then you don't see them until you're into the getaway, and then that's when you meet again. And so it's a couple days.
Okay, so
couple long days.
We won't jump any further ahead than that yet. So they're obviously going to go away. They're going to get this little dose of a honeymoon before real life starts, and then they have to make their final decisions about whether they're going to walk down the aisle. But you kind of brought up before about how this cast gets to now watch this in real time. They get to kind of see us, quote unquote, judging them or kind of reacting to their love stories or reacting to the things that they talk about. What is that feeling like of just watching yourself on there and also kind of bracing your family and friends for what is about to happen without really knowing how it's going to go down?
I don't think there's a way that you can really prepare for it. It is awful watching it. I think I cried every single episode watching me, cringed a lot at some of my mannerisms, but I think they're definitely probably going through it, and I just hope that they have their family and friends. There's something else you asked about that. Wait, I missed a question.
Well, just kind of like how you kind of deal with that newfound notoriety. Kind of too, because right now I'm sure their following counts just exploded too.
Definitely. I think there's probably a lot of people DMing them saying horrible things, nice things, support, not support. I just think they're handling it as best. Hopefully they're leaning on some of the older cast. I know that some of them follow me, and if they ever reached out, I'm there for them. Their families, their friends. I don't know how to. Honestly, you cannot prepare for it. You just have to go through it, and everyone can tell you tips and things to do, but I didn't find them helpful because every experience is different. I'm glad I'm not watching myself.
Okay, so here's my last question for you. Now, they have a little while to go before we know how everything goes, but as someone who has been through it, what is dating on the other side like?
Like after the show? Well, you know, it's been interesting. I'm newly single, but dating is fine. I mean, I don't know. I don't know a good answer for this one. What's it like now? I think people are like very attracted to like the idea that you're on a show, and they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. Or they have this idea of who you are.
Okay, that was going to be my
Yeah, they
question.
kind of have an idea of who you are, and they think you're this one way. And even for my edit and for like how I was perceived, I'm not necessarily all of that. Like I'm a lot different at home. So I think that's probably the hardest part. But
kind of
yeah.
battling those preconceived
Yeah.
notions. All right, well, we'll check back in as more episodes drop to kind of
Yeah.
see if you're rooting for someone, if you kind of see someone there you think has a chance.
I don't know.
We'll have to, I
Yeah,
know.
I don't
we'll have
know.
to wait and see. This is one of those seasons. All right, Marissa, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, how cool is that? We learned so much with that interview, Chris, yet again with Marissa George joining you on the Live Zone. Huh.
So I have watched every season of Love is Blind from season 2 on. I didn't watch the first season when it happened live, but in almost every season, and the DC season was unique in this sort of way, there is someone you root for. There is a couple you root for. You hope they make it down the aisle, or you know that they will. You are that convinced that they are so little drama. They have truly found their soulmate. They have connected. Even the ones that start with some drama and they learn how to overcome it, you know this couple is kind of in it for the long haul. From what I have seen so far in this season, and I am not the only one to say this because I have talked to other people who have watched it as well, there is no one so far that they are rooting for or they have connected with.
Wow.
So, you know, the last few seasons have had fewer and fewer couples actually make it down the aisle. There have been fewer and fewer couples who got married or have stayed married. From her season, there's only one couple who stayed married. 2 couples got married. 1 got divorced since then.
Sheesh.
This season, I'm not 100% sure yet if we will see anyone make it down the aisle. So we've got some time yet left. Like I said, 3 new episodes came out today. This will be them kind of coming home and living together and really having to learn if they can function together before they have to make that decision to make it down the aisle, and that will be that last batch of episodes.
Real quick, because we got about a minute left. I loved how she said that when she got a chance to meet the person, obviously she wanted to know how they looked, how they smelled, which is a sense that you wouldn't necessarily think about, and how they kissed.
Yeah, exactly, because you see this when those pod doors open and they see each other for the first time, and it's after they've already proposed. So they are engaged, and then they see each other for the first time. Those doors open, they're at opposite ends of like a runway, and they walk towards each other. And you can kind of tell a lot of the time whether that person is physically attracted to the other person immediately, or if they are kind of taken aback, or if they're shorter or taller than they expected, heavier or not than they expected. So many different things. But yeah, exactly. You don't know what your physical connection is necessarily going to be.
For me, it would be the shorter aspect. Hey, he's that short? Yeah, I really am.
Some people talk about it in the pods, I will just say.
All right. Of course, you can check out Chris tonight on Do You Like It or Not, beginning at 7:30. You see the QR code right there. Scan it so you can watch the show. I absolutely love it, and you will too once you get a chance to watch it. On behalf of my producer, Emmy, hey, she's back, Chris.
She's back.
We're happy. I'm Guy Lambert. Truly appreciate you watching. We do it each and every Monday through Friday, starting at 12. The Take coming up next, right here on Fox 5.